When you play the Game of Thrones, you
Subscribe and like.
or you die. There is no middle ground.
Alright, hello YouTube, and welcome back to the Grease Goblins YouTube channel, and in this video, we are going to be doing the final part of the Grand Maester's conspiracy theory, and I took a little break from this theory because it was a lot of work doing the last few videos, a lot of reading, and a lot of effort into those videos, so I took a little bit of a break, and we're back. This will be the final part, so we're going to be talking about kind of what we know, because there's a lot of gray area between the end of the Fire and Blood book to kind of Robert's Rebellion on specific info that we know about Maesters doing sketchy stuff. We do know information like on the King's reigns and stuff like that, but we don't know a lot of specifics. So that is when this theory will be updated when Fire and Blood Part 2 comes out. But for now, this will be the most updated version that I will put out. If you guys would like to subscribe, like, and comment for more of these type of videos, helps the channel grow and reach more people that might like this content. Maybe like you, maybe you don't, maybe you think I'm ugly, and yeah. All right, getting into the video. We're starting with the Robert's Rebellion. So the big idea with Robert's Rebellion and why I believe the Maesters were definitely involved within Robert's Rebellion is for a few major ideas. Now, we hear Lady Dustin more or less saying that the Maester at Winterfell, during when Ned was, younger, and for, his father, Lord Rickard Stark, that this Maester had actually been whispering in his ear to make, southern alliances, right? And this was unheard of, because the Starks didn't do this. If you read throughout Fire and Blood, and we even get the history of the Starks, for the most part, they didn't do this. They would very much wed, houses within the north or something like that. They didn't really go for this political game where they were trying to grow power south. This is a completely new idea, and the moment they do it, and it's because a Maester is suggesting it. Very odd, right? So, more or less, Lord Rickard basically goes around and he starts making alliances. He starts trying to make an alliance with Riverrun, basically, marrying Brandon Stark to Catelyn. And then we also see this idea of trying to marry Lyanna to Robert Baratheon. Now, these are two major houses within, the Seven Kingdoms. And the Mad King is definitely going to, notice this, right? And he's going to be going, okay, there's a conspiracy going on here. These are three big houses that are going to be married into each other. And then what are we going to do? That's almost half the kingdom right there, right? So it's this whole idea that the Maesters were trying to gain power to defeat the Targaryens, because the Targaryens went against everything the Maesters have wanted, right? Because if we look at the last few videos, right, it's always been about getting the Targaryen dragons, out of power, right? Taking these dragons and making it to where they aren't a thing anymore. That's where the Targaryens don't have as much power. They're just people at that point. And we see this idea with the forming of basically an alliance against the Mad King, right? We look back on this and go, okay, yeah, Ned and Robert, they weren't in the wrong and all that and stuff like that. And like in reality, they weren't. But at the same time, I mean, Lord Rickard Stark was actively trying to gain power to the point where he had three kingdoms in his pocket: the North, the Stormlands, and then also Riverrun and all that. And then we also see that eventually Lysa goes with the Vale. That's four major houses that were branded together, right? So King Aerys isn't stupid. Like he is crazy and stuff, and he goes mad, but he sees that and he goes, yes, they're trying to plot against me. And to be fair, they kind of were. So continuing on into Robert's Rebellion, we have this idea that Robert Baratheon was actually warned of some of the battles going on, in his first earlier days, and we don't know who actually gave him this information and helped him, right? We can infer it might have been a character like Varys trying to curry favor with the person he thinks could be the new Lord, or it could have been a Maester. We see how quickly the Maesters flip on Aerys very quickly. Could that have been an idea? That's something that there's not a lot of evidence to support, but it's something I wanted to bring in because I think it's very suspicious as well. So continuing through Robert's Rebellion, we also have when King's Landing eventually is sacked, right? And the Targaryens are losing power. Who is the main person that is telling King Aerys to open the gates? Grand Maester Pycelle. Someone that is not supposed to be playing the political game, who is obviously, because we see this later on in the story, is basically bought by Tywin, or is on a complete Lannister supporter against the Targaryens. The doors get basically opened, and Tywin does the rest. And, the Maesters being people that are supposed to be serving their lord, where they're, placed at, or not taking sides, majorly took sides. He knew what was going to happen if they opened those gates. So again, we see this meddling of the Maesters that lead to the direct downfall of the Targaryens. Now, granted, there probably would have been a siege, or would have been a, bigger battle that eventually the Targaryens would have lost anyway. But guess what? If that would have been something that happened, there's a good shot that it would have given a lot more time to Daenerys and Viserys to get away. Maybe even, Rhaegar's children could have gotten out. We don't even know, because Aegon apparently might be alive in the story. We don't know. Realistically, I think it's a Blackfire, but we're going to talk about that in this video. And then I'm going to just kind of skip to the modern part of the story, where we have the story of a Game of Thrones or a Song of Ice and Fire. And I want to look at a few different scenarios where the Maesters are very much playing the political game and are not these people that they're only there to serve their lord or whatever, right? If you haven't figured this out, Maesters are the same as lords or other people playing the game. They have their own ulterior motives, right? Maester Luwin, okay? He's a good guy and all, but he almost forces Ned out of his own home to become the Hand of the King. In the show, the scene is a bit different, but he is still pushing Ned to go and, become the King's Hand. In the books, it's also a tag team where Catelyn and you have Luwin basically saying, you have to go, you have to go. And we even get this slight plan that Catelyn and Luwin were working together and had actually wanted Ned to leave so that Jon would then eventually be sent to the Wall, because Catelyn wasn't going to let him stay there. So there's this idea that, again, Luwin is playing the political game, getting Ned out of the North, and maybe it wasn't for ill intent, but again, he was insisting on it, right? He wasn't just going, okay, giving him facts and then just, leaving. He was trying to actively persuade him alongside Cat. So that is a big one I wanted to talk about. And then we have this next one where I think it's a big idea, where you have, again, Maester Pycelle, and I'm going to talk about him one more time in this video, that Maester Pycelle continues, no matter who he's serving, to always having a political agenda, right? He always has one. He, is helping Cersei with, Joffrey and all that stuff. Like, he is not he's the biggest Maester, and he's the one playing the game. That should tell you everything about what the Maesters do. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating, right? Because the Maesters sit in the shadows and people don't, they are definitely playing the game at this point. And we even see this with Stannis' Maester, right? Cresson. Where, yes, maybe Cresson had good intent with what he was trying to do with Stannis and all that, but he actively tries to poison an advisor to Stannis, right? Mel. He actively is trying to play a role in the council, right? Like that. That is him playing the game, right? And this whole idea that they were trying to get rid of the Targaryens. Now, the idea of them getting rid of the Targaryens, they were successful in all that and they were doing that. But this shows even after they were still trying to play the game, trying to manipulate events. And it leads all the way to where I want to go to the end part of this, to wrap up this series and as a whole. Marwyn the Mage himself even implies that the Maesters had a hand in killing the dragons, which we've talked about this entire series and it just backs it up. If you look at the facts and evidence, there's definitely a lot of sketchy stuff that's going on with these Maesters. And a lot of it can't be confirmed, you know, because the Maesters are the ones writing these books, writing, you know, the point of views, and being the ones that are controlling, you know, who is what you're hearing in these letters and stuff like that. You have to read in between the lines is the big thing with this Maester conspiracy theory, because if you take it from face value, right, and when you're first reading it, you don't pick up on things like this. But when you're actively looking for things like that, when I reread Fire and Blood, there's a lot more things you pick up on certain details, like I talked about, how they describe people and all that stuff. And it's really interesting. So I hope you guys liked this series, and I'm sorry this video took a lot longer to come out. I had other things I was kind of planning on doing. Also, the holidays were kind of crazy as well. And I hope you guys all had a happy new year as well. Wanted to say that. I haven't really gotten a chance to say that in any of the videos, so I hope you guys have a happy new year. I'm just going to continue to upload on this channel and continue to grow the community. And hope you guys are all strapped in for another good year, and I will see you guys later.
If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.